Are you a high-achieving dental entrepreneur frustrated by the gap between where you are and where you want to go? Are you tired of advisors whose advice keeps you merely surviving when you should be thriving? I'm Tim McNeely, and I believe you deserve to build true wealth so you can take even better care of the people you love, the causes you care about, and leave your dent in the universe. Welcome to the Dental Wealth Nation Show, where we hand you the keys to unlock true wealth quicker and with less effort than you ever thought. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Dental Wealth Nation Show, and I'm so excited that you are here today. The reason that I'm excited for you is that this dental group, that dental practice that you've been building for years, it is an asset that is worth millions of dollars. And you may not know it, but there's an opportunity to extract that wealth that you've created. And by the time we finish today, you're going to have an understanding of what that sales process looks like and how you can extract this wealth. What does the timeline look like? What are your options? We're going to go through all of that. But most importantly of all, you're going to feel hopeful and inspired that your lifetime of hard work is going to pay off. And when it comes to helping dentists transition, one of the best out there is Matt Ornstein. Matt is the CEO and founder of a dental group that's gone from 20 locations to over 75. So he knows what he's doing in this space very, very well. Not only that, he is the co-owner of Dental Pitch Brokerage, which I'm so excited to share with you that story and what they've got going on in terms of helping doctors transition. He's also the author of The Art of the Dental Deal, another great book. We're going to talk about how you can get a copy of that. But what I really love about Matt, and this is so true of the time that I've spent with him, is he loves to share his knowledge with people generously. He wants to help you go even farther so that you can enjoy your lifetime of hard work. And he's here to share generously with us all today. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tim. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, I am just so excited to have this conversation with you. But let's back up a little, right? Let's talk about, a dental practice, right? A lot of times we think, oh, hey, it's an asset, it's worth something. But I don't know that a lot of doctors really treat it like the asset that they should. And why do you think that takes place?
That's a great question. I think the reason for that is there's not enough business training in dental school. Most of it's focused obviously on clinical expertise and competency. And the doctors just, they don't have that knowledge brought forth to them. And most business owners, regardless of the industry, don't realize and oftentimes never figure out that their business, whether it's, automotive, veterinarian, chiropractic, or dentistry, that their business can be sold for many, many times their net profit or net income each year.
Yeah, right. And I get into this a lot when we talk about exit planning is I always kind of think of there's really only two kinds of businesses in the world. And I know that sounds crazy, but really in my view, there's a lifestyle based business where you're working in that practice. It's providing some good income to you. And then there's also businesses that are focused on value creation and really growing and building a sustainable business. And I think what you just touched on is most doctors really view themselves as having a lifestyle business as opposed to having a value creation business. And so, what led you down this road to start talking to doctors about extracting their wealth and really, harvesting what they've spent a lifetime building?
So I bought my DSO 4 years ago. I'll be quick on this. We had 20 practices when I bought it. I'm not a dentist. I just really like the business fundamentals of dentistry. It's a phenomenal business with incredible health benefits for all the patients. But I bought that 4 years ago. We had 20 dental practices. I've acquired 55 more dental practices and taken our EBITDA from 7 million a year up to 23 million a year. And then I started getting invited to speak at dental conferences and go on podcasts, about building, how to build your dental practice and what to focus on and how to buy dental practices, how to start de novo dental practices, and the mathematics behind the business of dentistry. And it didn't take me very long to figure out that most dentists, and I'm not picking on dentists because it's across the board in any industry, but most business owners And we're talking about dentists. So most dentists did not know what the term EBITDA meant, EBITDA. And if they've heard of EBITDA, they couldn't really explain it. So that made me realize they didn't understand what it is. It's a fancy, convoluted term made up, by private equity. I think it was designed to confuse people, quite frankly. So I wrote a book called the Dental EBITDA Handbook that explains exactly what EBITDA is in like 20 pages. So you don't have to read a 250-page book. And then the dentists that read it, they were, coming up to me at dental conferences and emailing me and calling me and saying, wow, this is phenomenal information. I finally understand what EBITDA is and how it relates to the value of my dental practice. So I wrote another book, which you mentioned, and then I co-founded with a great friend of mine and a phenomenal businessman, Elijah Desmond. We started Dental Pitch Brokerage, and we help dentists sell their dental practices and get maximum value for their dental practices. So I just realized very quickly that many dentists did not understand how valuable their dental practices were and how much they could sell their dental practices for. So instead of working another 10 years, they could sell their dental practice in the next year or two and make enough money to retire and live a fabulous lifestyle for the rest of their life. And a lot of dentists are not really aware of that. And if they've heard about it, they're not very comfortable yet with the mathematics behind it. So I said, hey, I've been blessed in my dental career, and I would love to share the knowledge that I have and help as many people as I can, achieve their dreams of financial independence and allow them to do it sooner than later. I'd rather have enough money to retire when I'm 56, but I'm just saying, like, I think for anybody, it's better to have enough money to live really beautiful lifestyle for the rest of your life and have that at 55 or 60 or 65 versus waiting till you're 75 because you think you have to work till you're 75 to retire very nicely. So that's what motivated me and inspired me to get more involved.
Wow. Well, and with everything you just shared, there's another 12 to 30 episodes that we could record just on the things you just mentioned. But I really want to dive into that brokerage piece. And actually, those books, we just put them down in the chat. So if you want to grab a copy, click below. I'd love to get you a copy. We've got both of those books up there. Grab one. But as you're talking about this, I think, and what I've seen a lot of times with the doctors is there's this thought of, well, I'll sell my practice to another dentist and kind of these doctor to doctor transactions, right? Find another peer and, maybe work a little bit and then step away. But we're doing that at the end of our career. We're doing that at 67 and 70. So what's the advantage of starting to pull that forward, especially if you've built an amazing practice?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I'll give you a simplified answer to that. If you can sell your practice today for $7 million, right? Well, if you wait till let's say you're 35 or 40 and you can sell your practice right now for $7 million, and you say, I'm just going to work and work till I'm pretty much burned out, and you get to 70, and you say, all right, I'm ready to sell, and you sell at 70 and you made $7 million doing that. Well, that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you really enjoy dentistry and you want to be a dentist for another 20 plus years, you can sell your practice now. I'm using a number, but it's a very realistic number for many practices. You can sell your practice now for $5 to $7 million now. You'll have to stay on for like 2 years, and then you can start another dental practice. And 3 or 4 years later, you can sell it for $5, $6, $7 million, and start another one. So by the time you're 70, instead of selling one dental practice one time for $5, $6, $7 million, you literally could have sold 5 dental practices for $5 or $6 or $7 million, done the same exact amount of work you did if you didn't sell along the way and just sold at the very end, and you end up with 4, 5, 8, or 10 times the net worth that you would have had if you just stayed on with one dental practice till you decided you were going to retire and completely stop practicing dentistry.
Wow. Now, right, I hear that, and that requires a major mindset shift, doesn't it? You right? It's not just doing dentistry, right? You're really shifting to an owner and an operator of these practices. So how does a doctor start to even make that jump?
That's a great question. And the book you mentioned, I'm just going to jump in. It's $100 on Amazon, but you can download it for free. I think Tim has the link. It's called The Art of the Dental Deal: How to Build and Sell Your Dental Practice for Millions of Dollars. And in the book, I specifically call dentistry the business of dentistry, right? So you can be a dentist and you can practice dentistry, or you can be a dentist and be in the business of dentistry. And the difference is, if you want to just be a practicing dentist, which is fine, absolutely fine, you'll just work as a dentist, and maybe own your own practice one day and just keep it till you want to sell, and that's being a dentist, and that's great. But if you want to be in the business of dentistry, you have to shift your mindset of, I want to build this dental office into a business that's sellable, and then I want to sell it. And then you make a choice: do I want to retire now, or do I want to open up another dental office, or buy another dental office, build it, and then sell it again? So there's a mindset switch between being an operator, like someone that's focused on the day-to-day stuff, and an owner. And an
Hmm.
owner is focused on building wealth in a business. So it's a mindset switch from business operator to business owner.
Wow. So kind of like I was mentioning earlier, right? You really have to not see yourself as owning a lifestyle business that provides some income for you, but you really are creating something of value that someone else is going to want. And for those of you wanting that book, and for those of you listening, just go to dentalpitchbrokerage.com and you can download The Art of the Dental Deal and the EBITDA handbook. So those are both there for you to download. Highly recommend it. Short, great reads. I've had a great time reading them, and they've helped increase my knowledge. So really want to encourage you to do that. So Matt, we're talking about just that value creation piece, and let's say we are thinking about exiting, or like we're hearing this, and I'm like, that sounds really cool. Like I want to start doing that. What are some of the drivers of value for a dental practice?
Um, I'm gonna hop into that, but I just want to just also mention this, that it's very important for all dentists that own their own dental practice to understand, whether you own one or you own 10 or 20, the more you own, um, the higher the multiple on your net income that you get. So what I can tell you is, whatever your net income is per year, for either one dental practice or your group of dental practices, you can sell your dental business, your practices, for 5 to 10 times your annual net income, which is also called EBITDA, right? So I just use kind of an easy number. If a dental practice, whether it's one office or two or three, has a total net income or EBITDA of $1 million a year, in today's market, you can sell that for $6 million, 6 times your EBITDA or 6 times your net income. So what do you do to increase the value of your dental business? You have to understand that for every additional dollar of profit that you make, when you sell your dental business, you're going to get $6 of additional value. So if you're able to increase your net income or EBITDA at your dental practice by $100,000 in a year, when you sell your practice, you're going to get an additional $600,000 in your pocket when you sell. And it just keeps going up from there. I mean, if you have multiple practices and you can increase the EBITDA of all those practices combined by $500,000 a year, it's not just $500,000 extra you're making per year, but now you're going to get an extra 3 or 4 million, an extra 3 or 4 million when you sell. So you have to be focused on the business of dentistry. How do you increase your net income? There are only two ways in dentistry. You can reduce costs. So every dollar you save on supplies, or negotiating on a lease, or on advertising or new patient acquisition, every dollar you save is going to be worth $5 to $10 extra when you sell your dental business. The other way you can increase your net income is to increase your collections or your production. But typically, for every dollar of increased collections, your net income only goes up by around 20 to 25 cents. So any costs that are redundant or any costs that can be trimmed back without affecting the quality of patient care or the customer service experience, all those costs and cuts really, really matter and have a huge exponential impact when you sell your business. The
Wow.
other
So
way is to, get more patients, focus on case acceptance, stop referring treatment out, learn how to do veneers, learn how to do implants, learn how to do root canals, you know.
wow. So it's not just growing the top line, but it's also reducing the bottom line and improving your expenses. And right, that's mind blowing to think about. Right, you save $1, and that could end up be worth $5 to $10 when you go to sell. So not only do you get to enjoy more income today, you get to enjoy more wealth when you sell the practice. Right, that makes you view expenses in a whole new way, doesn't it?
It really does. I
Yeah.
mean, I talked to a group about a month ago, and they made a change on their credit card processing fees, which has saved them $30,000 a month. Now, they have multiple offices, so that's $360,000 a year in savings, um, and no change in the service that's being received or provided. And when they sell their practice, that's over $2 million extra that they're going to get just by negotiating a better deal on their credit card processing fees.
Wow, incredible. So, right, we're talking about, right, how do you increase the value of your dental practice? You look at top line, you look at bottom line, right, and you work on those things. So let's say you have a practice, and this idea of extracting wealth is really appealing to you. Do you start doing all the work on the top line and bottom line now? Do you get a valuation? Like how do you even start sorting through this to see if this makes sense for you?
I'm a big proponent of hiring a world-class dental consultant to come in and really look through your financials. The first step, in my opinion, is to go through all of your expenses and costs and see if some of those can be reduced, if some of them are redundant, and try to reduce your costs first. And I'm going to caveat that by saying only reduce costs if it's not going to negatively impact patient care or patient experience from when they walk in the door until they walk out the door, and including their appointment setting and et cetera. Then the other thing is you have to then figure out, how do I increase production? How do I increase production? And there are many, many ways to do it. I go over all of those ways in my book, The Art of the Dental Deal, in detail. But you've got to focus on those two things. Or, the third thing is you can expand the square footage in your office.
Hmm.
You may have to move down the street, but add more operatories. Maybe hire an associate dentist so you can handle additional patients. Or you might open up another new office from scratch. That's called a de novo. Or you can buy another dental office, and then build it and grow it. It's very easy with today's digital marketing to figure out exactly what it costs you to get a new patient. Right? You can dial it in. At my DSO, it costs us $50 to get a new patient. So in a lot of our locations, we don't have any room left on the schedule because we don't have any more operatories. So, if you're maxed out and patients are having to wait 2 or 3 months to come in, you shouldn't be spending money on advertising and marketing, right?
Hmm.
But if you have flexibility and openings in your schedule, then ramp up your marketing, because let's say it costs you $50, $60 to get a new patient, but the lifetime value of that patient, right? It could be $10 or $15,000 of profit for you. So you're spending $50 or $60 over the life cycle of your business to make an extra $10 or $15,000.
Wow. Wow, incredible. And I love what you just shared too, right? Work with a coach, someone who understands this, right? Invest in your practice because this is too big of a deal. The numbers are too large for you to try to go about this solo. You need a world-class team of advisors around you. And so when it actually starts to get to that point of exiting and valuing your practice, how often should you be looking at the value of your practice? Like what's that process of even figuring out what the asset you have is worth?
Um, I whether you use my brokerage firm or another good brokerage firm, they're, you know, I highly recommend working with a broker. It's like if you're selling your house, um, if you don't know what your house is worth, you could severely undervalue your house and you don't know how to price it. Now, housing's different because you can go on Zillow and you can look, in your immediate neighborhood, you can look at all the houses with the same square footage, same size, garage, same number of bedrooms, same school district. And you can go on Zillow and you can quickly see, what homes like yours have been selling for in the last 6 to 12 months. So that's easy to do. But there is no database available anywhere in the United States for you to go online and figure out what dental practices are selling for in your area or based on your collections or your number of operatories, et cetera. So unfortunately, I'm not saying unfortunately this is the best route, but unfortunately there's no way to access by going through the internet and to figure out what your dental practice is worth. So I highly recommend working with a sell side brokerage firm. You have to get a quality of earnings done. And quality of earnings is just a fancy way of saying having a qualified CPA who understands dentistry tell you what your real EBITDA is or your real net income is. And the reason I say that because a lot of dentists run expenses through their dental practices, right? Um, that a buyer of those dental practices will not have to continue paying. Like maybe you own a dental practice and you've got your dental practice paying for your car lease or for the health insurance of your entire family, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of expenses that could be run. And maybe you go to a lot of dental seminars or continuing education and you're legitimately writing all your airfare and travel and meals off. Well, whoever buys you is not going to have to continue paying those expenses. So those should get added back to your net income or your EBITDA when calculating the value of your practice. So my recommendations are twofold. Find a good broker to work with that you like and feel confident with, and make sure that you have a quality of earnings to determine what your true EBITDA is. And then a good broker can tell you based on your EBITDA, this is the range of the market value of your dental practice.
Okay, interesting. So you mentioned a couple things that our listeners may not be aware of, and I hear these terms all the time, and I always think it's important to explain it. But what's a sell side brokerage? What's a buy side brokerage? Like what do those terms even mean?
Okay, great question. So when you go to sell your house, you hire a real estate agent. A broker, a real estate agent in the dental business is called a broker. Okay, so effectively it's a real estate agent for dental business, but in the dental space they're called brokers. There are two types of brokers. You have sell side broker, which is what dental pitch brokerage is, and a buy side broker. A buy side broker works for buyers who are looking to buy dental practices, and the responsibility of that broker is to help a buyer acquire dental practices for the lowest possible price. So those brokers that are buy side are not working for your benefit if you're a seller. Their obligation is to work for the buyer and convince a seller to sell their dental practice for the lowest possible price, even if it's not a fair value, right? A sell side broker, which is what dental pitch brokerage is, and there are other sell side brokers as well. We represent the sellers of dental practices, and it's our fiduciary responsibility to only represent the best interest of the selling doctors. So a sell side broker will work with you to get a quality of earnings done. We'll go through all the financials and the numbers, make sure that your EBITDA is correct, and reflects the value and proper earnings of your dental business. And then a sell side broker will put together a beautiful sales package and submit it out to dozens and dozens of buyers in the marketplace, and help you negotiate the highest price and the best terms for your dental business or your dental practice. But a sell side broker is always negotiating in the best interest of the selling dentist.
So it's really having someone on your team working for your benefit and trying to get you the highest price possible and the best deal, as opposed to the buy side broker who represents the buyer. Well, like you said, it's just like buying and selling a house, right? The buyer wants the lowest possible price, the seller wants the highest. So who's on your team and who's working for you? So great explanation. Thanks for bringing that out. And and the other interesting thing you mentioned is like, right, going to market, right? When you take your business to market, you actually want multiple people looking at your business. So how does Dental Pitch solve that problem of really getting the practice in front of more qualified buyers?
That's a great question as well. We have over 55 buyers in our buyer network that are actively looking for and actively buying dental practices and dental groups. So another benefit of using a broker is we shop a dentist practice or group out to dozens and dozens of buyers. And our primary goal in any transaction is to get multiple offers coming in and then negotiating on behalf of the selling dentist, going back for round 2, round 3, and negotiating the price upwards for the best interest and best and highest price for the selling dentist. Like, you don't want to, if you were selling your house and you only showed it to one buyer and you got one offer, how do you know you're getting the best price for your house? But it would certainly be better if you had an open house where 55 buyers showed up, right? And then you got 6 or 7 offers, and then the offers went to round 2 and round 3, and you end up with the buyer that's willing to pay you the highest price on the best terms. So it's really important to have a competitive bidding process, so multiple parties are interested in buying your dental practice or group, and they're bidding against each other. It's just like an auction, right? The more bidders you have, the higher the price, and that's really what you need. A not good situation is when you have one offer from one buyer.
Wow. So in Dental Pitch is doing things a little bit differently in the industry too. So talk about what buying and selling a dental practice kind of looked like before Dental Pitch came in, and then I want to talk about the uniqueness of the model that you and Elijah have created.
Yeah. So in the 55 acquisitions that I've made as a buyer, almost all of them have come through brokers. And unfortunately, the process was never fun, even as a buyer. It was unpleasant, and it was I would just say unpleasant, aggravating, unpleasant, and difficult, to get these deals done. And the main reason for that, it's the same thing in real estate. Like, if you're going to go buy a house, rarely will the real estate agents allow the seller to interact with the potential buyer in the negotiating process. Like, if you're going to look at a house and you go with your real estate agent and you say, can I meet with it? Look, I'm interested, but can I please, we're having a little trouble on the terms of the contract. Can I sit down with the seller of the house face to face and just work out these few details? Not going to happen.
There's a wall that goes up, and it's email. Well, let me go ask the buyer. Let me go ask and it's this back and forth. It's awful.
It is. It's terrible. It's even worse in dentistry. And I don't know why that was the case historically, but one of the main tenets at Dental Pitch Brokerage is we take the wall down between the buyers and the sellers. So, as soon as offers start coming in, we immediately will allow the sellers and the buyers to meet in person. We have great buyers. Most of the time they'll fly into town and they're happy to come visit the practices and meet with the selling dentist, have dinner with them, get to know them, find out, what the seller, is really looking for in terms of price and terms and, how long they have to stay on. and the seller has an opportunity to meet the buyers face to face and say, is this a good fit? Is this somebody that I want to sell to? And is this someone I'm going to want to work for the next 2 years before I can, exit and get my full payout? So we take the wall down. If a seller wants to speak to a buyer, hey, we set up a Zoom call right away. You want to talk to them on the phone? Here's their phone number. You want to meet them in person? Let's all get together at your office. Have dinner together, get to know each other. And all the way through the process, we encourage interaction between the buyers and the sellers. Now, sometimes the sellers don't want to get involved when it's, a really tough negotiating point. We working on a deal right now that's going to close soon where my team, went back and pushed. There were 3 different buyers interested, and we ended up getting the price, the offer price up over 2 million from the original offers. And then the final buyer, they were like, this is our final price. And we went back on behalf of the seller, we got it up another $1 million. And that conversation, they're never fun to have, right? But, it took us several meetings, a lot of phone calls, but we were able to, convince the buyer that, hey, they could pay another $1 million. So on the negotiating part, a lot of times the sellers don't want to be involved in that. And I'm happy to take that on with my team. But aside from that, I think it's fantastic to take that wall down between the buyer and seller, let them interact. And the probability of getting a successful closing with the highest and best terms is exponentially higher when you take that wall down, where the buyer can't talk to the seller and the seller can't talk to the buyer till they've signed a contract. I mean, I found that I'm like, this is ridiculous. It doesn't serve anybody. And we also have live events, which are really cool. So any of our sellers, we do this like 5-6 times a year. We do a live event. It's a little bit like Shark Tank. It's cool. We invite 10 active buyers that we know are interested in the seller's practice. We'll invite a bunch of sellers that want to come. We all put them in a room, and I sit on the stage and chat with the sellers. And we've got 10 buyers sitting right in front of them. Buyers, you can ask, any questions they want, get to know the dentist. And then we have a breakout session for the rest of the afternoon. So the buyers that are really interested can say, Tim, if you were selling, I say, look, I want to meet with Tim. I love his practice. I love his personality. We're a good fit. And we give the buyers and sellers opportunity, face to face, to sit down, get to know each other, talk about, price and terms, if it's a good fit. And to the best of my knowledge, we're the only brokerage firm that does those type of live events. It's really cool. And it's hyper effective.
Well, right, and it brings that human element into the process, because don't get me wrong, like numbers matter, right? You want the best deal possible, but sometimes that best deal may be a cultural fit, or things that are intangible and aren't necessarily, I'm getting an extra 50,000 if I go to this person. You might say, hey, I'm already getting plenty of money to fund my lifestyle. Like, I want that best cultural fit in the place that I'm going to be happiest. So I love this model that you're really bringing forth to the marketplace, because it does bring in that human element when putting these deals together.
Yeah. And a cultural fit's really important. I mean, some selling dentists, when they sell, they're like, look, I'm happy to stay on 2 years, but I don't want corporate office telling me and micromanaging, how I run my office. Some sellers say, look, I don't mind if the buyer comes in and, takes over a lot of components of the office management and puts in place standard operating procedures that the buyer uses in all of their offices. So you want to make sure it's a good cultural fit, and you want to make sure that the expectations of the seller and the buyer match up well. Because the last thing you want to do as a seller is sell and have to stay on for another 2 years to collect, $2 or $3 or $4 million extra. It's called an earnout. You don't want to work for 2 years for someone that, that you can't stand, right? That's horrible. Yeah. So you want to get a good fit culturally. And, most of the buyers are fantastic, but sometimes they're just, personality clashes. And, you want to make sure it's a great cultural fit, especially, most of the dentists, they may have had their practice, for a long time, and they really care about their staff and their hygienist and their office manager and their associate doctors. And they want to make sure that, hey, I'm cashing out for $5, $8, $15 million. I'm good. but I want to make sure that my staff is in good hands when I leave, so they still enjoy coming to work and still love being here. I want them to still love their job.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break, Matt. We'll be right back. And when we come back, I want to dive into what does the transition timeline look like. So stick around. We're going to dive deep. We're going to just be back in about 20 seconds here.
You're listening to the Dental Wealth Nation Show, where we give you the keys to building true wealth. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with the friends you care about. Ready to level up? Grab a copy of my #1 best-selling book, Dental Wealth Nation, and unlock the secrets of building true wealth today.
So we are here talking with Matt Ornstein, talking about dental pitch brokerage and really how to unlock the wealth that is in your dental practice. So Matt, what does the timeline look like, right? If you say, hey, I'm ready, I've put my plans together, I know what my wealth gap is, I know how much I need to exit for, and we really want to start moving towards that exit. What does a typical timeline look like for moving through this process?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in because you just brought up a great point. Like, if you're a dentist and you're thinking about selling, please make sure you have a good financial advisor or wealth manager, and sit down with them and let that financial planner. I know Tim does that and does a phenomenal job, but hire somebody who's an expert in financial planning to go through your financial assets and help you figure out what amount of wealth you need so you can retire and live the lifestyle you want to live. You may sit down with a financial advisor, and based on your assets and retirement accounts, et cetera, you may realize, like, okay, for me to really retire after I pay my taxes on the sale of my dental practice, I need to get at least $5 million for my practice to hit my financial goals. Maybe you've got to get 7 or 10 million. So maybe you need to build your practice for another 1 or 2 years so you can hit the right number when you sell. So, I do think one of the most important things is get a great financial advisor, and put together a financial plan so the minimum amount that you need to get financially in dollars when you sell your dental practice to hit your financial goals and target. And that way you can plan out the timeline of your exit a lot more effectively. Do you agree with that?
100%. And I talk about this a lot in my book, Dental Wealth Nation. We talk about the process of stress testing. And this is something single family offices, which are the structure, the super rich use to manage their financial affairs. It's a team of the best individuals to manage a family's wealth. And what's stunning is in the last 5 years, Matt, single family offices, 94.5% of them have done a stress test. What's a stress test? It's like Ronald Reagan used to say, trust, but verify. Make sure your plans are going to deliver as expected. And so many people are working with advisors who help get them here, but they're not going to get them to where they want to go. So do that second opinion, run a stress test, make sure your plans are actually going to get you the results that you want. The super rich are doing it. It's a lesson we can take from them. I'd encourage all of you to do a stress test, double check your plans, make sure you're going to get the results that you want.
Agreed. And then also when you sell your dental practice, which oftentimes is a dentist's largest financial asset, if you don't have a financial advisor, my recommendation is find one that's highly competent and that you have a good fit with. In my opinion, it's very important so you can protect your assets post-sale and be able to live the lifestyle you want for the rest of your life. Yeah. What does it look like if you're going to go through the selling process? I always tell everybody, if you're going to sell, you want to sell, make sure you sell when you still have at least 3 years left of passion for dentistry. Because most buyers are going to require you to stay on after they pay you all those millions of dollars, going to require you to stay on for somewhere between 2 and 3 years. That's just how it is. So, the biggest mistake I see dentists making is they wait till they're completely burned out. I say, I hate doing dentistry. My body hurts. I'm exhausted. I hate going to the office. I don't want to work another day. I want to sell my practice. And it's very hard to find a buyer. Very hard to find a buyer who's going to buy a practice where the selling dentist won't stay on for 2 to 3 years after the sale. And in those cases, I see dentists just shutting. This is crazy. I see a lot of dentists that are, in their 70s, just literally closing the doors to their dental office. And if they had sold it, 3 or 4 years earlier, they could have gotten $5, $6, $7 million for it. But they were the sole practitioner in their office, and they said, "I'm done. I can't work, and I just can't work anymore. I'm sick of it." And they either close their business down or sell it for $500,000 when they could have gotten $5 million if they had exited 3 or 4 years earlier. So please, if you are gonna sell your practice, do it when you still have 3 to 5 years left in the gas tank, so you can have the energy and enthusiasm to practice at post sale for a couple years. I'm going to assume that the audience here hires a dental broker. The process typically from the time you hire a broker until a sale is consummated, a realistic time frame on the short end, 6 months. On the long end, 9 months. And there are a lot of variables that chew up those 3 months. But if everything goes really, really smoothly, expect 6 months. On the outside, 9 months. So you hire a broker. You've got to have a quality of earnings done. If you're a single office, that's about $5,000, and it's well worth it. It's well worth it because an extra $1,000 in EBITDA that's found in a quality of earnings pays you back to $5,000. But a lot of times, a quality of earnings will show your true EBITDA to be $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000 higher than you thought it was, or what your CPA thought it was, and that's worth an extra $500,000 or $1.5 million on the sale. So really highly advise you get a quality of earnings done.
And it may be different than what the buyer tells you it is also.
Oh yeah, if you don't have a quality of earnings and you're a seller, you're going to have to rely on the quality of earnings that a buyer gives you. So look, it is what it is, but a buyer's job is to buy practices at the best price they can. And if a buyer comes to you and says, "Hey, your EBITDA is," I'm making this number up, "your EBITDA is $300,000 a year," and if you don't have a quality of earnings, you don't know if that's right or not. If you have a quality of earnings done and you can show the buyer, "Well, actually, I had a quality of earnings done. It's $400,000 a year, and let me compare the two." Most likely the buyer's quality of earnings was undervalued. It really was. So once a quality of earnings is done, a good broker will put together a fantastic marketing package, and we get it out to all the potential buyers that are looking for your type of practice in your state or geographic region, or in your area of specialty. It could be a specialty practice, could be general pedo, whatever. And then then offers start to come in. So, from the time you engage with a broker till you get a quality of earnings back, typically 30 days, right? At the longest 30 days. I would say another 15 days to get the package out to all the buyers. So now you're at a month and a half. Typically, it's another 30 days before the offers come in. You're about 2.5 months. Ideally, you want multiple offers. And I think if you have a good broker, you're going to get multiple offers. And then there's negotiating. You want to meet the buyers, determine, probably narrow it down to like two finalists, continue the negotiations, and then you'll get the, 2 highest and best offers. So at that point, you're probably at about the 3-month mark, approximately. Then you pick. And if you find a buyer that you like, you sign what's called a letter of intent. And then the buyers, they have to go back to their board of directors or investment committee and get it approved. So that's typically like another 30 days. I wish they moved faster, but that's just life in the big city. So now you're at about 4 months. And then the buyers will have to do some additional due diligence. Make sure you're HIPAA compliant. They're going to, want to go look through your receivables, your office leases. They want to look through your employment agreements. You're going to do a lot of due diligence, which the broker will collect on the front end, by the way. So we organize it, but then the buyer's due diligence team will go through that stuff. And then once the buyer's investment committee gives approval and the buyer's lender gives approval, Now you're like typically at like the 5-month mark, and then it's typically another 30 days or so, just to get all the closing documents, ironed out and ready to go. If you have 10 offices or 20 offices, that due diligence period takes longer because typically the buyer is going to send someone to visit all of the offices, meet with all the associates, and you just have 10 or 15 times the amount of documents to go through. So that's what can add on another, 1 to 3 months until a deal closes. But that's the typical process right there.
Wow, incredible, right? It's so achievable too, right? You've created all this wealth, all this right? Your dental practice is an asset, and so you need to consider what it's worth. You need to know what the value is because it does play a major role in you building the life that you wanted. It's oftentimes the largest asset that you've built, and you want to make sure it's protected so you can harvest and extract that wealth. So Matt, thank you for sharing so generously with us. Before we sign off, is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
Well, gosh, I really hope everybody reads my book, The Art of the Dental Deal, because if you're interested in growing your practice, there's a whole chapter on there on how to buy dental practices with no money down. It goes into how to buy dental practices using seller financing, bank debt, where you can actually buy practices no money down, no money out of your pocket. And I mean, it's fascinating stuff. But if I was a young dentist, I'm 56, but if I was a young dentist, like, 35 to 40, my game plan would be either buy a practice or start a new practice, build it up, get it up to, $1.5 million, $2 million in collections and sell it. Stay on for 2 years and do it again and do it again and do that, 4 or 5 times before I hit 60. And you're a very, very wealthy person at that point. And meet with your financial advisor, really determine like how much money you need to sell your dental practice for to be able to hit your retirement goals. And you may find like, hey, I'm ready to sell now. I can get the price that I need and I'm good to go for the rest of my life. Or you might find like, you know what, my practice is worth, 5 million right now. I really need it to be worth 7 million. So what do I need to do to add another $2 million of value? What do I need to do? What does that mean? It means, I might need to add another 300,000 of EBITDA. Well, how do I do that? Does that mean I need to hire an associate? Maybe add an operatory or two. Maybe I'm open 4 days a week. Well, if I hired an associate and now I'm open 5 or 6 days a week, my EBITDA is going to go up enough, and in the not too distant future, I can get that 7 million instead of the 5 million. So, I would think, start thinking out, plan in advance, and don't wait till the last minute to extract that value from your dental business, because it is a business. It's a very valuable asset. You worked your butt off, through college, through dental school, all those years, seeing patients, and as a dentist, you deserve and have earned all of that multi-million-dollar value that you created in your dental practice. You deserve it. You earned it, and you should get it.
Yeah. Oh, well said, Matt. How can we get in touch with you? So, right, Dental Pitch Brokerage, is that the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, if you just go to dentalpitchbrokerage.com, all our contact information is on there. Our phone number's on there. Our emails are on there. That's probably the easiest way.
All right. Links are down below. When we put the links again for the books, please grab those books. They are fantastic resources. Matt, you're just such a wealth of knowledge. And like I said, I could talk to you for hours on this stuff. So thank you for sharing so generously and helping us understand, right, how to unlock the wealth that's in your dental practice. We'll see you again here soon on the Dental Wealth Nation Show.
Thank you, Tim.
You're welcome.